because like when he's tooted, bro, that guy.
Yeah, I know.
I want to see like a Tony Montana and like him just taking shots.
Welcome to the Thicc Boy Fight Club. I'm your bulking boy.
It's Tyson the Beast.
And Thicc Boy shout out for the restaurant. For me, Chain Smokers Barbecue. It's a halal barbecue spot. It's what I'm thinking about where I'm going to go right after this podcast to eat. Barbecue chicken, Kansas style.
Ooh, I'm
yeah,
gonna be the judge of
corn and like it's pretty good. It's right on Eglinton near Renforth, right in that industrial area. Very good spot and cheap too. A lot of food for the value. So
today I'm gonna take a step away from the Topico
no way.
thing. Well, only because same thing. It was a certain situation because we were in Kensington this weekend at Gus Tacos for the fight night. So I want to give a shout out to him. It was amazing tacos. I always complain that it's hard to find good Mexican food here. One thing Toronto does have, we have good taco spots. Kensington is a good place.
Kensington's known for its tacos.
Yeah,
There's
so
a spot there.
Yeah, you know,
there's a spot there called Tacos Birria. You can get like real tacos.
Yeah, and you know what I mean? We had a good time. It's a vibe. So yeah, I want to shout that out, man. Because thank God for those restaurants that are able to stay open and do that type of stuff when we're not able to.
It was nice seeing the city alive a bit this weekend.
Yeah,
Kensington was nice over the weekend.
Yeah, so I want to see people keep supporting those businesses. It was awesome to see that energy on Saturday. So, keep supporting these places. So shout out to Gus Tacos in Kensington. Fire steak tacos.
Yeah, I mean, I went nuts this week with eating. Really, I even gotta say, like, shout out to Zorro Steakhouse in Brampton. They opened up and had some surf and turf not too long ago. So, yeah, now that things are opening up, make sure you support your restaurants. Yeah,
it was a Thicc Boy weekend for sure. So that's actually why today it's just us two. We felt like there was so much to talk about in the MMA world, fight world that, we didn't want to miss that wave.
Yeah, we probably didn't even touch on all of it, but I mean, let's get started on the recap.
So what's your opinion of the fight Saturday and what happened?
Man, that was dark. I was thinking about it. I woke up the next day, like, man.
In a bad mood, right? Like you were depressed.
I was like, yeah.
Like you knew
like
somebody involved.
I was left like with a churn in my stomach. Just seeing like Conor there with his broken leg. Like
one of my favorite fighters of all time.
And like pointing and saying all that stuff to Dustin. It was just like so dark, like threatening his family and stuff. He's there with a broken leg. He's going to be out for a long time. Might never come back. He might never come back.
Well, he did. Listen, he seems to be focused on his next camp already, which is...
Well, how can you focus on a camp when you have a broken leg like that? Your next thing focus is literally just getting better. And so I liked what he did talk about, or his coach talked about 24-hour goals. I really like that whole concept, even for applying it for like a camp or anything. Like, what are your 24-hour goals? He's gonna really have to stick to that right now.
Yeah, that's why I'm kind of torn. Like, I hated seeing that, but then I almost think like, man, that same angry energy I feel like is the only reason he still thinks that he said 6 weeks on the crutch, rebuild. Like, people,
But you think that angry energy is what got him his leg broken? Because, I mean, he came out so hard in that fight. He was kicking. I think it was the kick. I think it was the elbow. He was kicking so hard. Yeah, and me and Tyson, we think he broke it on the elbow with that straight karate kick.
That's what I think.
Yeah, because he got up. He threw if you remember, he threw a leg kick right away, like a regular leg kick from southpaw, and then he threw that karate.
And you could see it.
And he landed right in the elbow.
Right on the elbow.
For anyone that's sparred, I mean, I've thrown that kick before, accidentally on a southpaw and like from southpaw and landed like my foot, luckily, but like I think I broke something back then too because I couldn't walk probably for like a week. It's if you land on the elbow like that on the shin, it's dangerous, and I think that's where he broke it. Yeah, and he landed right on it, twisted after.
I'm super torn, right? So the only example, Chris Weidman just had his, but we do have Anderson, who, in my opinion, beat Michael Bisping post that bad third injury. People forget Michael Bisping was a champ.
Yeah.
And the best thing I can think is that his whole goal was to fight Pacquiao and all this stuff. Anderson Silva just beat Chavez Jr., which I heard was his biggest payday. The boxing world, like, I'm not against the idea that Conor can still come back. I think
if he does come back, doing a boxing fight first would be smarter.
I don't think that's what he wants, though. Like,
I know, but
the UFC needs to get it.
Legs like that. You said don't break like that in boxing. MMA is a crazy sport,
and you don't get paid as much for it, right? He would have gotten paid way more if you got beat up by Pacquiao.
I think it makes sense. Maybe he comes back to boxing, but
he's coming back to MMA.
Either way,
see the anger. He's
way,
coming back.
We're not seeing him for a while. We're not seeing him for a good year and a half.
What do you think his first fight back would be?
Man, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. And probably Diaz,
right?
It doesn't make sense to go after Poirier. I mean, here's the thing. I think Conor's still a great fighter, but he's fighting the absolute best guys in the world. You're fighting the most elite. Like, he's literally fighting the number 1, number 2 guy in the world. Like, to be fighting those guys, you have to be so like elite and on, and I just don't know if he's there anymore.
So this is
could he still be top 10? Yeah. Could he still beat some guys in the top 15, top 20? Yeah, absolutely.
Do you think he could be a top 5 fighter?
I don't think so anymore.
So this is where I'm kind of torn.
And that's hard to say because I love watching the guy fight.
Where would the UFC be if the standard for being done is losing to Dustin Poirier and Khabib? Those are the only 2 losses at the weight class. Who's ever beaten Dustin Poirier at 155 outside of Khabib?
That's true. He's untested against a lot of guys at 155.
Khabib has never lost a fight.
But how do you think he does against Michael Chandler? Justin Gaethje?
This is the point.
Charles Oliveira.
Would you not pay to see?
I would pay to see that. But I mean, like, here's the thing about the UFC, about MMA and the UFC is like there are no tune-up fights when you're fighting in the UFC.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
That's not true.
I mean, there's
Cerrone was a tune-up fight.
Yeah, okay, Cerrone, but like even that, like those are still dangerous fights. You know what I mean? So for him to come back,
but it's not the Michael Chandler Gaethje. You're talking about the pound for pound top 3, right?
Yeah, to come back and fight those guys off of a broken leg.
So let me give you an example.
That's such a tall.
So let me give you an example. Justin Gaethje lost 2 fights before getting his title shot. What's the difference between him after those 2 losses to Eddie Alvarez and Poirier and Conor now? Where would the sport be if the standard was, if I can't beat champ, I'm going to retire? We'd have no fighters left.
No, I'm not saying he should retire.
I'm not saying you're wrong, but like...
No, but I'm not saying he should retire. Him not being able to fight the top 5 guys in the UFC doesn't mean he should retire. Yeah, I mean, like, look, Nick Diaz is coming back to fight Robbie Lawler. That's going to sell like crazy. So, like, why wouldn't Conor come back and fights like Cerrone, fights like Diaz? I'll pay to see that any day.
Listen, Dana and them need to get as much. I don't know if you guys watch this. I'm gonna give the shout out because I love seeing Khabib and these type of, because he's a very honest guy. He had an interview just recently with Brett Mono, and he basically said like, yeah, if you, and it was kind of disrespectful. Cerrone goes, yeah, if you give him guys like Cerrone and all this, you're gonna look like a lion. But if you want to beat the Dustin Poiriers and the, you know, he brought up his boy Islam. He's like, I don't think Conor's there anymore. He brought up Tony Ferguson. He said, there's a reason I called Tony Ferguson will never be the same. There's a
big gap difference between the top 5 elite guys in the world and even the top 10 guys, and then you know, further down the line. And it's like, you know, fighting is timing of where you're peaking, and like,
totally agree.
Conor could have been in his top prime at 33 right now, but like, you know, the man literally became the richest MMA fighter
of all time.
And
I don't know if anybody's going to break anytime soon.
For anyone to even handle it as well as he's probably done is probably a huge accomplishment in itself.
Well, let's be honest.
How many people you know, even fighters, that would have never been able to handle that type of fame, that type of money?
I'm a huge
to come
Khabib
back
fan,
to fighting.
But I always bring this up, and you know, I've asked you this so you were able to answer, but nobody cared about Khabib until he beat Conor. I'm sorry, and people get mad at me, but we
know who Dustin is, but look, people now know who Dustin is because of McGregor.
Exactly.
But Dustin was like fighting forever, and he was a Charles Oliveira. He's been fighting in the WC, the UFC for so long and never gotten the notoriety or the recognition.
And I think that's why Khabib was smart for retiring. I think he knew the peak was Conor. He looked at the numbers. He looked at, most people can't tell you the 2 fights he had after. I've had this conversation. I asked him, who did Khabib get the belt from? They don't know. I like Quinta if you're questioning. And I asked him to name the 2 people.
What does Khabib have left to do?
Exactly. I mean he beat the number one. Smart enough. I think he was smart.
He beat Conor when Conor was at the top of his game. Realistically, top of his game. Maybe he was drinking a bit that camp.
I don't think he was at the top of his game.
I mean near the top of his game.
I would say top of his fame.
You know?
But he wasn't the top of his game.
He's beaten Dustin Poirier, who's gonna be likely the champion. And he's beaten Gaethje. I mean, he doesn't need to fight anybody else.
And Chandler, I'm sorry, he beats Oliveira. No offense. I think he beats
Chandler too.
Yeah. No, well, yeah, I don't think Chandler's this. I question Chandler's chin. Chandler, I think, could have finished Oliveira, but there's something about his chin that's just not what it used to be. All his losses come from these weird flash knockouts by guys who are not. Pitbull at Bellator is a power puncher, but like that was weird.
Anybody can get clipped, but forget he's been in a lot of wars.
Exactly, that's my point.
His wars with Eddie Alvarez, and you know he's.
I mean, dude, Dana White is sick. His dream end year matchup was Chandler versus Conor. That was no matter what you feel about Conor, you are lying if you're telling me you didn't want to see him versus Chandler for you. Like Poirier versus Oliveira, I'm here for it. Most of the people who have these opinions about Conor aren't going to.
From an MMA standpoint, that's probably the most exciting fight. I mean, Dustin versus Oliveira, like they probably have the most tactically. They have the most tools.
The most exciting is Chandler.
They have the most weapons.
McGregor.
Yeah.
You know it's not going 25 minutes. You know you're going to see freakish athleticism. You know you're going to. Chandler versus Oliveira could come down to just grappling. It could come down to
it's gonna be a war. That's gonna be a war.
I love the Holloway fight against Poirier, but like I'm a purist. That's just not what most people are here to see. Is a technical matchup. Dana White's sick. He can say there. He has no stars. You just let go of John Jones.
Yeah, let's go through it. I mean, look, John Jones is not fighting probably until next year.
All right. John Jones
he's just chilling, just getting big, just getting
every
thick.
time one of these losses happen, it raises his stock. Chandler losing rose his stock because you had a future star in Chandler.
When John Jones comes back, he's probably going to be the biggest fight, right? I mean, he deserves it.
But look what they just did to Ngannou.
So so look, now they sat Ngannou out because he went to Africa.
Let's just go through weight class to weight class. Let's start with your 125.
I don't get it. I don't get it though. The guy just won the title. Let him go. Like he went back to Cameroon. He's building a house. Like let the man enjoy being a world champion. You know what I mean? Like, but you want him to come back and fight in like what 3-4 months?
Ngannou wants the Jones fight. Ngannou wants to get paid. He just fought. Does anybody remember that Derek Lewis fight?
No, that was one of the worst fights.
Don't even know who Derek Lewis is, and they don't realize that that's the guy who. It was the most boring loss I've seen at heavyweight in a long time. That is the worst. Like, why would you want that?
Now I understand Dana's kind of reasoning. Derek Lewis has a win over Ngannou. He's gonna be huge in Houston, and he's fighting this undefeated guy who's also under Ngannou's management. Everyone heard stories that he's an absolute killer.
I'm not knocking Dana White's stance at all. He's being a shrewd businessman as he should. Yeah. But from a fan standpoint.
All right, so then who's next? You got Jan Blachowicz.
Let's start your weight class. Let's start your weight class. And that way we can really shine a light on how bad Danny Jones.
Moreno can't fight anyone right now. I mean,
who's the biggest star? Is Moreno the biggest star because he's Mexican? I would say that just because.
Yeah.
First Mexican world champ.
And I'd say let the man enjoy being a champion. Let him go around Mexico promoting, building the gym, building up the thing till you figure out a contender. Because I don't know if you do a Figueiredo fight again.
135. Who's the biggest star?
Cody Garbrandt could fight Moreno though. If he just gets one win at 125, and I'm hearing he's going down to 125, and he's getting a top 10 guy.
We know that wave is done. 135, who's the biggest star?
It's
TJ,
and he's coming back to fight Corey Sandhagen.
And he can easily get star checks. And who would be surprised? I would not be surprised if Corey Sandhagen beats him. And trust me, that's another fight that Dana White will be sick if some kid who nobody's ever heard of starches TJ Dillashaw. He will be sick.
Yeah, and he has a bad loss against
Sterling has the champ who can't fight right now. Most people don't know who Peter Yan was. And then, listen, I think Cody could be the world champ, but who that does? If you don't watch UFC, you don't know who that guy is.
35 is still the most exciting division. I mean, I really want to see Aldo versus Cruz. I don't know why they're not making. I don't know why they're not making that fight.
I think but that's the point. Is like
they put Aldo versus Pedro Munez.
Who's the star?
Nobody.
It's TJ Dillashaw. The guy who just got caught cheating. Okay. If he loses, that division's screwed again. For guys like us, it'll be awesome to see.
Too bad Henry Cejudo needs to come back.
I know. How ironic is Henry Cejudo would be the biggest star immediately.
Yeah. So let's go to featherweight. Featherweight. I think Max Holloway is the biggest star. Too bad he had to pull out of his fight with Yara.
2 L's in a row at the division.
That's like, and he has 2 losses to Volkanovski, which are close. Volkanovski's fighting Ortega. Ortega could be a star. That could be an interesting fight.
I just don't think he can be the champ. I don't think he beats him. I would like to see him beat him, but then
I think Volkanovski's a beast.
I think he could beat him.
And he's so tactical too.
Styles make matchups. So I'm not going to play the MMA math game. Oh, this guy beat Holloway.
Of course.
But I think Holloway has his card no matter what. So even if he wins, then you're in the Shark Tank and you got to come back.
Holloway's the biggest star. I think Holloway's the biggest star. And then let's see, at lightweight, we just went over it. You have Dustin Poirier fighting Charles Oliveira.
The biggest stars have all been knocked out.
Are they going to do Chandler versus Gaethje? Because that's the fight that makes the most sense.
I think so too. I mean,
for the number one contender.
I think that's the only fight to make, right? Yeah. Like, who else is even in the Islam? So Islam fights this weekend. And
but then if he wins, he could fight someone like Dos Anjos or
Benal Dariush. If the UFC is smart, they give Islam the next title shot right after this fight. They were lucky they even found somebody to fight the kid. Let's be real. Nobody wants to smoke with that guy. Oliveira.
Thiago Moises is this guy he's fighting. Nobody knows him, but he's with the game. Like, he's tough. He's taking this fight. He says he wants, but he already said he's ready to fight off his back, and I'm like, ooh.
Who said that?
Thiago Moises. I'm like, oh.
See,
he's like, I'm very good off my back. I have wins off my back. He's a jiu-jitsu black belt. I'm like, man.
Like, people are giving crap to Chandler not taking the fight. Why would you take that fight to a guy that nobody knows who's fighting
it's Khabib Jr.
Gaethje, I think, probably would have taken the fight. And I think his management is probably just being smart. If you're a manager, you stay the hell away from Islam Makhachev. Why would you? Why? What do you get out of
Gaethje Chandler? That needs to happen.
I totally agree. But I think if they're smart, they give Islam the next shot right away because he can feel that Khabib voice.
Man, I would have loved to. I would have loved to see Gaethje versus Conor.
His first name is literally Islam.
Oh,
so if you want to get the Muslim world in, that is a huge.
And he can really piggyback off of Khabib, and Khabib will be in his corner, and like
I think he's a more athletic version of him.
And he'll piggyback off Khabib's.
I don't think he's better than him, but I think he's a more athletic version of him, and he has the potential to give us more highlight reel.
I think what Khabib's special was his mind, man. He was his disciplined mind and his disciplined approach to fighting, and having always priorities in the fight, like always priorities.
And he said he never stopped training. He goes, guys like Conor will never be able to get to that point.
That guy's been through ACL surgeries. That guy's been through a lot. Man.
Guys, exactly what I was about to bring up is people forget how much Khabib almost retired before that third Tony fight.
I think he's had 2 ACL surgeries.
It was 2.
Yeah.
And he had an MCL issue. He's had mad injuries. And I want to say he had the back surgery. He was this close to retiring.
And you know, you're right. This is why you think Conor will make a comeback too, because Conor's come back from ACL surgery as well. And I don't know if it's not the same thing. I've never broken my leg, but you know, I think that the discipline of it, he would come back.
Well, what does it mean to come back, right? If this is about entertainment, if this was just about the best fighter being the best fighter, Islam would be a pay-per-view fight this weekend. Tyron Woodley wouldn't be making the most money.
You think he's that good, eh?
I mean, bro, I do. I definitely think he's...
We'll see. This is his big moment.
More money.
This is his big moment.
He deserves to be making more money than Tyron Woodley fighting Jake Paul, and that's not how the world works. 4 MMA losses in a row, and you're about to make your biggest payday.
Isn't it sad now? Jake Paul's been clowning Conor. Oh my God.
I will be sick if...
Did you see the chain he got? The $100,000 chain, and then like...
He's giving it to Poirier.
And then him talking like
Conor
needs him more now than he needs Conor.
If he knocks out Tyron Woodley, I'm going to be sick. I don't like your response. I feel like you want to say something.
I don't know. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. Because Jake Paul can box.
We are all MMA fighters
Tyron's getting old.
The same thing.
Tyron's getting old. You know, like,
we're MMA fighters are some of the least politically correct people in the world. But when you bring up this Tyron Woodley fucking Paul thing, we all get mad political. Like we all people.
Who's Logan Paul supposed to be fighting? I heard he's fighting another MMA guy. I think Rashad Evans. That's the fight
Logan Paul is fighting Rashad Evans?
That's the fight they're trying to make, yeah. That's the fight they're trying to make. Rashad Evans coming out of retirement.
I'm surprised by that.
Yeah. I heard Ali Abdelaziz.
I'm surprised Logan would even bother with that after the money he made.
Yeah, he's got options. He can do it.
I figured he would go after De La Hoya.
De La Hoya's fighting Vitor.
And to me, Vitor's a much scarier fight than Logan. So I'm very
Why would De La Hoya take that fight against Vitor? Vitor's going to be on all the sauce.
No, because De La Hoya really believes he's back. Have you heard him talk? I want to see him on...
How many yes men is he surrounded by? Because he sounds like he's just on all the fucking blow and he's lost his mind.
He's beefing. I don't think it's yes men. He's beefing with Golden Boy Promotions and he's Golden Boy. Do you think the boxing world is happy with that he's doing this?
He's lost his mind. I mean, like, how many yes men does he have around him in training that he thinks that he could come back and like... is he really killing people in training?
I mean, dude, he looks good in training because he can still crack, but like... Vitor's gonna be on all the steroids.
That's what I mean. But I'm sure De La Hoya's on a bunch of steroids too. Maybe that's why he's feeling himself.
I want to see Vitor.
Maybe that's why De La Hoya's feeling himself.
And I want to see De La Hoya on cocaine and then just throw him in the ring. Because like when he's tooted, bro, that guy.
Yeah, I know.
I want to see like a Tony Montana and like him just taking shot. Like because I feel like that Triller thing with the Jake Paul thing, he was definitely.
It would literally be like that. It would be like that. It would be
I feel like we would. I think it, dude. I feel like I said, politically correct or not, I'm here for all of this. Sadly. Be honest. Are you more excited about the Islam fight this weekend or De La Hoya versus Vitor?
De La Hoya versus Belfort. Come on. Like I'm a purist. I love MMA, but like, who doesn't want to be entertained? Who does not want to be entertained?
I mean? So this whole Jake Paul thing, the way when I said I'll be worried, the way you like the look on your face. This is our version of political correctness. Is this Woodley? I can't get people to be honest.
Listen, have you ever seen Woodley actually box? Like properly box, even in an MMA fight?
Yeah, that's his thing.
Yeah,
he's a knockout. I would call him knockout artist.
Is he a boxer or is he a puncher? Because he like knows how to throw punches, but I can't remember last time he threw a combination.
Bro, I'm gonna have to pull my political correctness card on this one and
not comment, right? So it's like it's hard.
I can't. I'm very concerned, and I don't like how angry Woodley's getting.
I just hope he's actually taking the training with Mayweather serious, and it wasn't just a photo op.
No, I think he's taking training because he said something smart. He goes, "This kid's trying to trick you. He's a fighter." I do like that part, but I don't like how easily agitated he's getting. It's just not.
He's agreeing to the tattoo bets and all these. Weird,
I'm just not. I don't agree to. I don't like it, and part of me is because I think he
won't even agree to donate the money if he loses.
That was a huge concern for me.
That was a huge
concern. I did not like that. And then people are like, oh, why doesn't Jake Paul do it? And it's like, because sadly, Jake Paul's the one who has the money to make that bet. Woodley does not have an extra $15 million
to be like, oh, around. Yeah, I can take my...
You see what I'm saying? Yeah. And so that was a huge concern for me when he didn't take that bet. I just was like, ugh. And the way he like
and they're in Jake Paul's hometown too. That's where the fights happen in Ohio.
And like, I don't know but I guess I bring up the Woodley thing to say like, you know, we're here for it. And I just brought up like, dude, there's very few MMA fights left right now that I'm more excited about than that.
It's gonna be Jake Paul versus Dana White. That's what I mean. Like, I just mean like they're gonna go ahead. And
remember he almost fought Tito Ortiz.
Listen, I don't know how any MMA guys can really knock Jake Paul because he's really speaking up for MMA guys that can't speak up. You mean like the things he's been saying about fighter pay and all this stuff? Like, how can you not rate the guy?
Well, you know what Jake Paul's exposing?
How can you not rate the guy?
That a lot of MMA guys aren't as purist as they claim. And I said because I watched the reaction, Joe Rogan, when he was talking about this to Brendan Shaw before the fight with Askren. He goes, I watched the whole MMA community do this with Conor. All the way up until the 13-second knockout. I watched people deny him every step of the way. And then he knocked out Aldo and a lot of people because we let our emotions get involved with how we feel. Do you know why boxers are supporting Jake Paul? Because that's been part of their sport forever. They know how you talk has nothing to do with your skill.
Nothing, man.
They've had the Muhammad Ali.
One punch can change your life.
Roy Jones.
One punch can change your life.
That's the only reason So listen, I made that bet. I showed the ticket after. A lot of people got mad at me, but I bet with Jake Paul against Askren because I said like, I'm going to listen to boxers' opinions before I will MMA guys. And
it's a boxing fight.
Zab Judah was very clear that he thought Jake Paul was more dangerous to be. I don't think Mike Tyson's a fake guy to the point where he'd support anybody he thought was trash. I'd seen him badmouth Mayweather when he was at the peak. When I saw Mike Tyson's reaction to Jake Paul's training, I was like, oh, this kid must be doing something that these guys see. And when you have that much money, bro, can you name 3 fighters in either sport that has more money and resources than Jake Paul?
He can literally train the way Mayweather trains.
So boxers know that. Boxers know how important it is to have money, a ring in your house.
Resources.
Bo Flores, John Pascal is a strength
anytime
partner.
You could do pads. At any time you could be like pad work. And
dude, look at the sparring partners. Andrew Tabiti, John Pascal. Him and Bo Flores met because he was a sparring partner. Like
all the money you could spend on recovery, all the money you could spend on nutrition, all the money you can spend on trainers, sparring partners, people looking at. You don't think they're studying Tyron Woodley? Like there's so much footage on this guy.
Who's Woodley's coach?
I don't know. Is it gonna be Ben Askren? Because he was Ben Askren's coach.
And I watched the press conference. He goes, "My sparring partners will beat you up." He goes, "How?" And Jake Paul was like, "Oh, I'm sparring with Jake." You know, he named a bunch of world champs. And I didn't hear Tyron respond with any boxers. I don't like the idea that you don't have any prominent boxers as sparring partners. That's very odd to me. And it almost makes me wonder, is the boxing community on Jake Paul's side? Where, other than Mayweather, who's reached out to him? That's very concerning. I don't know any of the people he's sparring with. I've never heard of any. Like, I know Mundo because he's Rigondeaux's coach. Everyone
it's crazy that we're talking about this kid so much because I didn't even know who he was. I don't know anything about his YouTube thing. I don't know anything about that stuff. But you know what? He's really helping out boxing. He's really helping out MMA.
And what he's
you know,
doing
like
MMA.
He's helping out boxing and he's helping out MMA. He's literally giving a spotlight way more and bringing way more eyeballs to both sports.
Well, this is my concern with MMA. So you know his brother was like a state champion wrestler, right? And and he was like an All-American from Ohio. Ohio is some of the best wrestling in the country.
Yep, that's right.
Shouldn't MMA guys be the ones who realize that if you have a wrestling background and resources that you can be a good fighter? We're the ones who we should know that better than anybody.
Yeah, that's how most MMA champions are made. They were just good wrestlers who figured
70 to 80% of the UFC can't say they were state champion wrestlers. Like literally Logan, his brother has a better wrestling pedigree than like 80% of people get mad when I say, I go look it up. How many guys were Division I level state champion wrestlers, and yet MMA doesn't want to support them? It's very confusing, and I'm very worried. I'm not gonna lie. I'm happy for MMA in a weird way, but if he gets knocked out, man, like.
And Tyron Woodley's your boy. Oh, he's from
be sick, bro.
He's from
like
Missouri.
it'd be so much better if Chandler was like champion. Like okay, whatever. But like I can't keep seeing all these L's, bro. Like they're just doing Missouri dirty right now, man. Somebody has to rise. Like we need. That's why we need Molina or one of these guys from Glory. We need Kansas City, Missouri, St. Louis. All you guys. We need somebody to bring us back, man. Because it's been if Woodley loses, it's gonna be a hard pill to swallow for a lot of MMA fighters.
Yeah, and speaking of welterweight champions, let's move on from what we were saying about who Dana White has left. I mean, at welterweight, he's got Kamaru Usman.
All his champs are getting knocked out by Usman.
Is Kamaru Usman a big star? You know what I mean?
Sadly, no.
No, but I mean, he's getting there. He's getting the recognition as a top welterweight champion.
This is the reality. MMA
He's lapping guys. He's literally going like on a tour of beating guys again.
If he had a big mouth, he'd be a star. And that's what people... I don't... Stop bringing up Khabib. Khabib did not become a star until he beat somebody with a big mouth. To become a star, you either have to have a big mouth or beat up a guy with a big mouth. And that's just the reality.
Yeah, and how Khabib literally had to act out of character.
This is why Adesanya is probably the biggest star in the UFC right now. He has the mouth, but he just took L. He just took that L to Jan.
But he picked up a win recently. Marvin Vettori, he beat Marvin Vettori.
Yeah, but like, he's probably the biggest star in the UFC right now.
But he could lose to Robert Whittaker. I know. That's the fight that they're doing, and he could lose to.
So Robert. Yeah, man.
Middleweight's a tough. Robert Whittaker's a tough fight for him, man.
Yeah,
I think the way Robert Whittaker's been looking lately, I don't know if Izzy's gonna do that.
So before we wrap up, because our awesome, and by the way, shout out to Top Mud Studios.
We're gonna do a shout out, a sponsor shout out at the end.
Yeah. So before we wrap up, let's just do a quick. Who in a year? I'm just gonna ask you these questions. Who will be the 125 champ?
Moreno probably. Still.
135.
Jan.
145.
Well, Holloway if he's healthy. If not, Volkanovski.
155.
The Poirier.
Ooh, so you taking him over Islam
and Oliveira, yeah.
Welterweight.
Because I don't know. Well, in a year's time, yeah.
Welterweight.
I think Usman retains it.
85.
Oh, tight between Whittaker and Izzy.
I'm going Adesanya 205. A year from now.
A year from now, that Jiri guy.
Jiri Prochazka. Heavyweight.
Nagano.
So Jones will not be a champion in the UFC in a year.
I don't know if the Jones comes back in a year.
And then final, I want the answer now on camera. Is Woodley a 1-0 boxer come September?
No.
All right, well, that's Thick Boy Fight Club. I'm not giving any of my answers.
I
use you to
and
give our shout outs to our sponsors, though.
Sponsor shout out for Thicc Gang. We got Top Mud Studios, best podcast studio in the city.
Come check her out. If you guys want to get your stuff done, come here. This is the spot to do. And they do music recording. What else? Shout out some stuff. What else? Music.
Commercials, videos,
editing, skits. I know you guys see our skits. We're hilarious. I know.
And then all the friends that support us. Clinch Culture.
Kimura Wear.
Mo.
Tank tops are coming next week.
I need one.
Bearded Bites. Who else? Clinch Culture.
Blessed Edibles.
Blessed Edibles just for kicks. Gas Dank for that gas.
We got some sports. We got some sports bars.
Sports bars. You know the vibes.
We getting too many sponsors. Thank you everyone for the love. Kangen Water.
Yeah, like I said, we have to take a day to talk about all this MMA stuff. Sometimes we forget that we're a fight podcast, which is a good problem to have. But yeah, man. So guys, remember to like and subscribe and give us your opinions on some of the stuff we're saying. If you think we're crazy, let us know. We'd love to hear people's opinions. What do you think about the state of boxing and MMA in the mix? And yeah, we definitely want to get more interaction from you guys. So thanks for tuning in.